Hi, I'm Mitchell Hope, and you're watching the Permanent Rain Press on YouTube.
Hi everyone, it's Chloe with the Permanent Rain Press, and today I am so happy to be joined by Mitchell Hope. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you doing, Chloe?
I'm doing good, thanks for asking, and I'm really excited to finally be chatting with you. You have a really exciting film that we'll be discussing, but before that, I wanted to ask, how have you been this past year and a half, and have you picked up any new hobbies or skills?
I've been as well as can be. I've been kind of slugging along. The industry kind of took a bit of a hit, and so it was quiet for a while, and I picked up every hobby you can imagine. I tried everything. I bought a keyboard, I bought a piano, I bought another guitar. I'm not even really that good at guitar, and I still just keep buying guitars. I'm just like, oh, this looks great. I've been bought some new camera equipment. I moved to a different place. I've been trying to like stay a little bit busy. I started skating, like skateboarding, and I'm just really, really bad at it. I keep falling over. I keep hurting myself. My agent full on banned me from skating. He's like,
You're
don't.
getting too bruised for auditions and
I'm
roles and
getting, oh
whatnot.
my. He actually banned me a while ago. I showed up to an audition one time with like I'd taken a bit of a nasty fall on the way to an audition. I thought, oh, I'll just skate there. There's no problem. It's just down the road. And I showed up and I had like kind of blood dripping down my arm and I was trying to cover it. And my agent called me afterwards. He was like, did you show up with blood dripping down your hand? And I was like, no, no,
He's like a
that
second
wasn't me.
parent, right? It got back to your
Yeah.
agent.
And he was like, right, no more skating. And now I don't want to tell him that I've been skating again because like he's right. I keep falling like I'm really bad at it. I have
I
no
think you need
balance.
like a proper teacher or something like that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Can, Tony Hawk come and give lessons for cheap? I don't have heaps of money.
Well, who knows, maybe down the road, but I think it's great that you've been keeping busy because you mentioned like, music, you're getting outdoors and spending time doing those activities. You've also been script writing, which is something that you've
Yeah.
been wanting to do for a bit. So what can you share and where have you been finding inspiration
Oh,
from?
I've been writing. I love writing. I've always been kind of like whenever I have downtime, just writing it. It helps me. It's almost meditative in a way. I get to like write out, and I don't mean a lot of people keep a journal and stuff and write things in their life. Whereas I like when I write out to write a narrative, a fiction, something that can take me out of this world completely. Not so much an escape, but like I really love looking at something that's otherworldly, something that's different. And so I wrote a whole bunch of short films. That one of them we're kind of in the process of, uh, like pre-production for with some friends of mine in up in Sydney. Excuse me. And the big thing I'm writing is with my best friend is I'm writing a musical actually for the first time. So we've been working on that one for a bit and working on it with Daniel Pucky, who's a big he's like a big musician in Australia. He's like a big music theatre director in Australia. Just happens to be one of my best friends that I grew up with. And so we've been working on that for like a year now or so, and it's difficult writing musicals. Like I keep kind of getting to a dead end and then stopping and getting angry and throwing something and being like, "Oh, this sucks, stupid musicals." And then a few days later, I'll come back to it and be like, "I'll give it another shot." It's just that like back and forth. You just keep pushing, keep trying, don't give up.
That's kind of the mindset you have to have. And I'm happy to hear that you've been so busy with on the writing side because you've kind of been in front of the camera for much of your career. So it's nice to kind of delve into this creative process. Let's talk about your new film, Love You Like That. You stars Harrison. It's a sweet rom-com. He runs a dating agency, Bow and Arrow, in Seafront Sands. So what can you share about your character and what initially drew you to the script?
Yeah, well, Harrison is I'll talk about what drew me to the script first. I got sent the script by the director Eric Nash, who sent to me maybe a couple months before filming. He said, hey, why don't we if you like this, have a read of it, and if you have any questions about it, give me a call." And I had a read, and I liked it, and immediately kind of jumped off the page. I had a Zoom call with him, and I was able to talk about the things that I liked and didn't like, and things where we could work on, and he was very receptive to ideas, and he wanted to. It was good to like he was immediately kind of jumped at the idea to work with me. It was like which was an exciting element. I also really wanted to get. I wanted to make like an Aussie. I'm Australian. I really wanted to make an Aussie feature where I can use my natural accent and work in a place that like I knew and loved. And Australian film crew are just next level. They're so relaxed and they're so good at their jobs as well. And everyone became like a mate of mine on set, which was really, really nice. And that's what kind of got me there originally. And sticking around was like, I always wanted to make movies with my friends. Like that's what the reason that I get into this is to make movies with my friends. And a lot of the time, the stuff we made when I was a teenager, like no one was going to see it. We didn't care about that. We just wanted to go out and it didn't matter to us. We wanted to go out and make something and have some fun. And I got that feeling on this film. I was able to kind of chase that high of, feeling like I was just, everyone there was like a mate of mine. We were working on something together. And it was really, really nice, almost blissful in a way. The character Harrison, though, is a lot of fun. He's very, it was really cool to kind of play a little bit, as my career's kind of progressed, I've been able to play some more characters that have a bit more nuance, a bit more, a few little things, extra things about them, extra challenges. And Harrison, he starts off in a very kind of simple way. I don't want to say simple, but the character is very easily understood. And as the movie goes forward, progresses, it's more and more gets revealed about him. It's a bit more fun it was a bit more of a challenge, and I had a lot of fun playing it.
So dating sites, matchmaking, did you do any research or preparation for like Harrison's job and his personality?
Yeah, I just scrolled through Tinder. No, I didn't. No, no. Harrison. It's like he comes up with his dating site right at the start, but that's not so much. I don't want to give too much away about the film, but it's almost like I feel as if it wasn't his true calling. It wasn't like he made things that he was good at, and he is good at Harrison, but it wasn't. There's much more to Harrison than that, I believe.
Greater
It's
purpose.
yeah, it's a greater purpose. That's it. It felt as if I know there's some people out there who can think the same. Do you ever feel as if you're good at something? You're locked into it, and people reward you for it. But sometimes it's not what you want to do, and so you're stuck into it because like you're good at this. People like what you're doing and everything, but you can't keep waking up and going into a job where you just as much as I remember I had things where like I've been working and doing it and doing something back when I used to I used to run and manage like a bar basically. I used to make all this stuff, prepare all like the food, and I actually really like doing it. I used to really like running the entire thing. I was like owning it. And after a little bit I kind of got people were happy with all the new recipes that I was coming up with and everything, and I was like, man, I don't want to do this. This isn't what I'm meant to do. So and I was very fortunate to kind of book a few American jobs, but like I connected with Harrison over that. He was good at it. He likes his dating app, but it wasn't what he was supposed to do.
I think it's always nice to find a personal connection to your character because, as you mentioned, you and your director kind of work together and shape him and who he's going to be. I always like to ask actors what it's like working with a new director. So with Eric, he wasn't only the director but also the producer and writer. So what did you learn
Yeah.
from, working with him and his vision for this film?
No, he had sometimes with writer directors, it's a bit of a red flag. You go in, some people sometimes they're so locked into a way of doing things, which is fair. It's their baby that they've worked hard on. They put everything into it, and I was very impressed with Eric the way that he kind of took on new ideas. Sometimes it'll be writer director will be too rigid in that. And he was very excited to be like for me to come in and say, hey, I love this, but what about this? What about this? Or different ideas. And it's that kind of in improvisation, like in improv comedy, they say stuff. There's a rule. They say the yes and it's the idea of accepting and then building on. So you don't, refuse something, say no. It's you accept it and build on. And I think Eric really can envelop that. He had that yes and mentality. And we'd build on his ideas. He'd build on my ideas, which was very, very exciting. And that I always kind of like telling the story. The first my first day of shooting Descendants one, my first big studio film, my first film outside of Australia, the first real big thing that I ever did. The first day of that, we shot the finale scene first, the Descendants one, and so I was standing there and I was utterly terrified. I was almost shaking. I was standing in front of Kenny Ortega, like the man. I was standing next to Dove Cameron and Kristen Chenoweth, Tony Award winning, actress. I was losing my mind. And at one point I was standing there, and there was one of the shots where Kenny had to come and talk to me because I was so nervous. I was just shifting my weight a bit, which might not have been much, but on camera, I looked like I was doing this. And he was like, yeah, it's good. Just ground yourself. But at one point, Kristen came up and said, hey, Mitch, what do you think about this? And I was like, I mean, it's good. It's good. She's like, yeah, but what do you think I should do this? Or what about this? And I kind of realized that she was asking for my advice, but like, my input on this. And I was like, yeah, let's move the face. Do that. That's really funny. And she was like, okay, we'll try this. And, it was just the idea of someone, this big pro coming up and asking me as a peer, asking me to, have input in her performance, what I thought of this. And it was a really, really beautiful thing that she did that kind of set the tone for my whole career and how I go about, working with new people is that immediate, whether she saw that I was so nervous or not, and I'm almost certain that everyone could see it, but whether she saw that or not, she went up and she made me feel immediately so comfortable. I felt better throughout the entire thing just because of that one little action that Kristen Chenoweth did.
There's something that's so special about collaboration and like just as you mentioned, it's kind of like a respect thing too, right? Like treating everyone as equals and yeah, you can create beautiful things out of it. It must have been such a treat working with Steph Tisdell as Emily, who's a remarkable comedian. What was it like getting to play off one another and what did she teach you about comedy?
She's a funny girl. She's a very funny girl. She she made up a lot of those jokes like on the spot, like on set. It was all I'd say like 80% of it was improvised, just her throwing stuff at me. And so a lot of our scenes are together. And there were a few times where she just went out of her way to try and like break me. Like I'll be doing like a serious thing and I'm trying to be very serious and I can hear her just next to me, just outside over there. There was even one scene where she was like trying to like the shot when you film like sometimes like two cameras. In this particular instance we only had the one camera shooting on Steph and then we turned around and shot on me, and Steph just changed her lines and started saying ridiculous stuff to me to try and make me laugh, and I'm like being real solemn and serious. I'm like doing this and I can hear the director behind me. You're like stifling her laughter, and I'm like trying as hard as I can to be sad, solemn. And finally, they call cut. I just put my head in my hands, and I'm like, Steph, you can't say that stuff. And she's like giggling over in the corner. But we her and Alira, who plays Mim, the lead actress in the film, her and Alira and I, we all lived together in a big house. And when we were filming, it was like just kind of nearby in this beautiful spot in New South Wales, which is kind of like that coastal spot. When you think of Australia, that like nice coastal area, this is the spot that you're thinking about. And so we'd sit there and we'd all Steph brought up a piano, I brought up one of my guitars, and we all just kind of sit around jamming and ordering pizza each night. And so sometimes we just sit and listen to Steph spin yarns, just tell stories, and she would just tell, and we would be like in stitches laughing the whole time. She's a very, very funny girl, Steph Tisdell.
The blooper reel for this film must be just like chock full of good
I
material.
was about to say if there's a blooper reel, oh my God, if there's a blooper reel, it'll go longer than the movie. Like, like it'll just be Steph just trying a different line each time, and she really did. She came up with a different thing each time. So when I was watching the film, I was like, I don't know what they're gonna go with. This is it's gonna be hard to cut together
It'll be a
because
secret and it'll be a surprise when you kind of see that final cut. But with Steph, I read that you actually also gave her guidance because this is her first like acting project. So do you remember like what advice you gave her? You know, similar to your kind of thinking back when like Kristen Chenoweth gave you a little tidbit. Did you have anything to give her, or was she just like a natural performer?
she I remember she showed up her first day. She was quite nervous. She was kind of blown away with the first time you get to like film, it's her first movie ever. And so the first time you get on set to see, to film, it actually is quite overwhelming. There's so many different moving pieces, and there's so many people there, and people sitting you down. Hey, can we sit down and do your makeup and do this? And she was just sitting there, like almost like, oh, like kind of like a little bit frozen. I remember, and she picked to her credit, she actually picked it up very, very quickly. But I kind of realized my role in that situation was just to try and like let her know that ultimately it was just her and I. That's all we needed to worry about. Like this is going to be a lot of stuff, but it really just comes down to this is just you and I in this scene. There was you, me, and Eric, and director, and it's really all we have to do. And he'll, Eric likes to kind of he'll stand back and come in, and then like stand back. So I made sure that it was just like, when people went away, it was just kind of us sitting there. I didn't even say anything to her sometimes, but just standing next to her, just letting her know it was just her and I, and anything that goes on is, her and I in the scene. Nothing else mattered. And once she kind of got past that, and she was able to really stretch, like, really feel free, it was just brilliance. It was then the first scene in the film where we're together was actually her first day of filming.
So what we see on screen is actually kind of like, you know, what
Yeah.
happened in real life during production. You mentioned Alira, who stars as Mim. We meet her. She's this mysterious free spirit. What can viewers expect in the dynamics between her and Harrison?
I think it's a bit mysterious. I think there's be some questions going throughout that'll be like by the end you'll kind of you'll come to it's one of those things where you can't say too much of that because this mystery unfolds more and more. Just for people watching, this woman washes up on the beach to start off the film, and she's washes up on the beach. She's completely naked. She has no idea who she is or how she got there or where she's from, and kind of the story goes from there. You start to meet, she goes in, like the police come in, ask her questions. She's like, I don't know. And suddenly she sees Harrison. She goes, oh, you're Harrison. And this is where the mystery starts. How did you know my name? Where are you from? What's going on? I think the audience will like grow to love that mystery more and more it unfolds. This is all setting us the backdrop of like a really beautiful coastal Australian town. So a town that's coming together to celebrate its bicentennial, a small town. So it's got that small country town feel. It's all on the coast with like a bit of mystery to it and a lot of love.
Yeah, well, it sounds wonderful. And Alira, you mentioned the three of you live together. Seems like she has the same bright energy as her character.
She absolutely does. She really really does. She's the you can see her like like playing the rain and stuff. Running like she's got this like playful, whimsical kind of nature. We'd sit out the front on like where a house was it was like sat up on this big kind of this hill, I guess, and it was looked over this huge big green like big kind of like a big oval, like a footy oval and a rugby field kind of put together. And then right past that was the waterfront. And right next door was like the pub as well, which it was just fantastic. So we'd go have like a drink at the pub and come and sit back. And Alira and I would just be like, would put on music, and like all the neighborhood was mostly just like old people. And I could tell how annoyed they were at us just like blasting music from, our not even from inside the house, but from the front like we'd be sitting on the front porch and blasting it outwards. People are annoyed, and Lyra and I are dancing and singing. Like Steph would just like try and like, we'd all be like trying to harmonize and sing, and Steph would like rap sometimes loudly, and we do this just every single night. And I'm sure like all the people near us, like all these old people next to us, must have been so somewhat happy.
They were like, when is this movie gonna stop filming here?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it's something to,
We still go back. We still go back just to annoy him occasionally. We're like, not yet, not yet, soon, but not yet. We're not done with you guys yet.
I think it's something that's really nice to like build that relationship with your co-stars and then have those relationships carry over into the show. Now, you mentioned being from Melbourne, and this was your first feature film in Australia. What took so long? But filming it must have been really special.
It was yeah, it's my first lead feature. I did a few little parts and some stuff from like a while ago when I was a teenager, but I was very I was so fortunate to get to book Descendants. I was 19 years old, and I was able to go over and you might have been 18 or 19 years old, and almost the year out of high school, and then the year after I finished high school, and so I was insanely lucky to get out of there almost like before I started my like just as I'd started my career. I was able to do some American stuff, and I wanted to chase that for a while. And then when there was a point in LA when I was living in LA where I thought I'm I had to wait until late at night to call my mom or something. My mom, like I had to wait until nighttime to call my mom because it was such a different time zone. I had to, I was missing out on all my friends, my brother's birthdays and stuff. And I just thought, you know what, I want to go back to Australia for a bit. I want to go back to Melbourne, and I want to live there. And so I ended up getting a place 2 minutes down the road from my mom's house, really like just right next door, just so I could. And it was amazing. And I ended up just going and like, having dinner at that place most times. So be like, if they're gonna cook, yeah, awesome, it'd be fantastic. Make you mum. It's what my mums are the best at, right? And we and so I went back to Australia, and it was kind of a few months of getting used to it, being able to seeing if I could do my job, my auditions for American stuff from here. And after I figured out that that was possible, I started like I was much more comfortable in doing this. And as soon as I felt that, I was like, I want to do something even better than that. Would be to do something where I live. I film I haven't done one that shoots in Melbourne yet, but because Melbourne's pretty rainy, it doesn't look like the rest of Australia. It's kind of miserable. It's just grey and cloudy, and everyone wears black and drinks coffee and smokes cigarettes and complains. That's what Melbourne is. So when you think Australia, like a lot of the time people don't think Melbourne. So I was so excited to shoot in a place that was so close to home. My family could drive up and visit me or something.
Yeah, and the golden beaches. It's funny that you say that about Melbourne because I'm like, okay, I can name Melbourne, but then I would think of it as having such nice beaches, and you're saying it's absolutely not like that.
Yeah, it's got that kind of English weather thing. It does get like occasionally does get hot, but it's occasionally. It's a definite like occasionally type of thing. It's like you know what? Actually, it's very close to Vancouver.
Okay.
It's very, very close to Vancouver.
Yeah, a little dreary then.
Yeah,
has its bright moments, but mostly dreary.
Exactly. The only difference is like in comparison, like Melbourne in comparison to the rest of the country is very, very, very cold. Whereas, Vancouver in comparison to the rest of Canada is actually quite warm. It's actually,
Yeah, that can be true. Yeah. Because you filmed in Ontario, so you would know that it's cooler out east.
Yeah,
Yes.
so when I filmed in Toronto, when I filmed Let It Snow in Toronto, it was right in the middle of that. Do you remember a couple of years ago there was the polar vortex that happened?
Yeah.
It was a couple of years back, and there were these massive, massive blizzards. And I'd never really been in the snow before. It's, I've been where it's like been, I was like, yeah, I've been in the snow, but it's been like snowing, it's been like very, very light, kind of. And I was like, look at this, it's amazing. And when I went to Toronto, And then it was snowing, and I'd never seen anything like it. Blew my mind. I saw cars covered in snow. I had to like, FaceTime my entire family, every friend I had. I was like, "Are you seeing this, man? This is ridiculous. This is how these people live. There's a big city here. What's going on?" Like yeah, it blew my mind. I couldn't get around it. That there's like no food delivery because it was too dangerous on the roads for cars to
Must have been
drive on.
super icy. You like
It was
step a foot outside and you're
yeah,
like, oh my gosh, I think I
exactly.
need like boots with huge spikes in them.
Exactly. I'd never had to wear gloves like outside before. And when I first like I saw someone, I was like, man, I'm not wearing gloves outside. That looks
I
stupid
can
as
deal
hell.
with this.
Yeah. And after a little bit, I was like, I got like a nose warmer and everything is before like, pandemic. So, I'm like wearing like nose warmers, beanies with big ear flaps and stuff. I wore massive UGG-like boots everywhere. I completely threw out fashion. I was like, nah, I'm all in. This is comfort only for me and warmth. And I remember being next to Matthew Nosko, who's just got mad style. He's got so much style. He just looks great. And we're like going, he goes, do you want to we'll go look for some clothes, we'll go shop, and then we'll just grab a beer after. And I was like, yep, sounds good. And I'm like standing in this like vintage store and he's got all this different stuff. And I'm like looking down at my big like parka, my big what's it called? Like the goose feather.
Yeah,
Uh,
Canada Goose coat.
yeah, Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, Canada Goose. Big Canada Goose jacket and my big long like UGG boots and just like big thick woolly pants. And I'm like, man, I'm not buying any other clothes. This is what I'm
I'm
wearing.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I'm wearing to the end of the shoot. And I did. I walked around the city, like I'll go out to a bar wearing exactly those clothes. There was no way in hell I was
No way
wearing.
around it. Do you
Yeah,
still have that attire or did that stay in
absolutely.
Ontario
I've still got that. I just have no reason to wear it now.
just
Like
in
even in
case you go
Melbourne.
back?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Even in Melbourne, like it's it'll get cold, and my idea of cold is not as cold as Canadians' idea of cold. Today for me it is a bit cold. And what is it? It's 13 degrees and cloudy today, which for me, like I'll put a jumper on when I go outside, and I'll like maybe a beanie as well. And I told my buddies in Canada, and they were like, 13 degrees. That's like go out for a picnic kind of
Yeah, it
kind
was
of
like
stuff.
t-shirt weather. Yeah.
Yeah, t-shirt. Whereas for me, like if it's like 30 degrees, like I feel good in 30 degrees. And, they're like, over 27 is like that's where I'm comfortable at. I feel good at, which is again for Canadians must be absolutely ridiculous. There's a few spots in Canada I know that get really, really hot. Sometimes over in the like it will get like hot and muggy in a lot of places. But my family from like northern Victoria, the state that is, and where it gets very, very warm. All in like we used to live up on farms and stuff, and so like it gets very, very hot up there and very, very dry as well. And so it's a different type of heat, and I love the comparison between the two. I'm terrified of the cold of Canada. I know my friends are terrified of the heat in Australia.
I think that you freaked all your friends out like back home because now you're scaring them if they ever come out to
Oh
Canada what
yeah.
it's going to be like.
Oh,
But I think
I love it.
we spent so much time talking about weather. Just before we talk about some other projects,
Yeah, you're
circling
right. You're
back,
right.
what
You're right.
it's great though. Like I loved hearing this insight because it's not something I'm sure you talk about often in interviews. But ultimately with Love You Like That, what do you hope viewers take away from this movie?
Look, Love You Like That is a really good. It's a feel good film, and for us in Australia, it's the first film in cinemas out of the COVID lockdown. And we've had in Melbourne or in Australia, we've had a very long, arduous lockdown. I'm sure, and everyone has pandemics hit everyone, but this is the first film for us that's in cinemas outside of lockdown. And it can still, even though it's an Australian thing, it can still provide that same stuff for global viewers, especially some in Canada and some in the US, for around the world. It is if you want to sit back, relax, and kind of make yourself a hot chockey and watch something feel nice. I'd say give it a shot. Give something and you'll walk away with a smile, and I think that's what we're all looking for at the moment. There's a lot of, there's a lot of, speaking my language, there's a lot of shit at the moment. There's a lot of bad things, happening, and we want to put something good out there. And I think we've done that. And I think if you're able to walk away, if you want to give this a shot, please do. I think you're gonna feel nice. So please have a shot.
That was such a good pitch. Everyone in Australia, go listen to Mitchell because you should see this film. Is there any word on a wider release yet in terms of like streaming, video on demand? Are they working on it?
I've actually asked specifically about that. I asked the producers. I said, "There's some people who are pushing on this. Let's. What do you think?" And at the moment, we're gonna like I said, in Australia, the situation is just it's a bit hectic, a bit yeah, everything's being figured out right now. In Melbourne, I'm still not allowed to go out and get a haircut. Check this out. I'm still not allowed to, really go more than 5 kilometers from my home just yet. And so everything's just being figured out now, and that we'll look for a global release. I think at some point, maybe at the start of next year. I'm not quite sure. The producers kind of hinted at something, but everything everything can change in a week nowadays. This pandemic's really thrown everything for a loop.
Yeah. Well,
But
here's to
soon,
hoping. Yeah,
I'll
soon.
let you.
And until that happens, watch the trailer a bunch of times. It's on YouTube.
Please.
So you can, let them know that the world wants to see this movie. Now, let's talk about Descendants. You returned to voice King Ben in Descendants: The Royal Wedding. This character has been with you for the past 7 years now. So tell me about the impact this franchise has had on your life and in your career.
It's it's absolutely incredible. It's almost dreamlike in a way. I felt as if sometimes when you play a character, you kind of take on some of their characteristics. So when you're playing it, and it's so nice to play such a good character. I found myself, you start to do things almost accidentally. Just little things. I found myself like when I was playing Ben, like a better person. Like this, I'm not even sure how. I can't even pick one thing out, but there was just little things where I would adapt, or sorry, adopt, little bits of Ben's personality. But that whole experience changed my life completely. And Kenny Ortega, he plucked me out of Melbourne, put me over, and said, uh, you know, I think you can do this. You can give it a shot. And I said, I reckon I can. I think you put your faith in me, I'm not going to let you down. And he did. He gave me a shot, and the rest is history. I'm so lucky. And I'm not a singer or a dancer either. This is when I first signed on to the film. It wasn't a music, like there was no part of it that was musical. And then they kind of made a few changes. And then within maybe it was like 4 weeks before, they were like, "Hey, Mitch, by the way, can you sing or dance?" And I was like, no, why? And they're like, "Oh, well, guess what? It's a musical. So you'll be fine. We'll teach you." And I was like, right, okay. I'll give it a shot. It was so exciting though. That was it really was a time in my life that was just go, go, go. And there was so much. It was it was so big. I learned so much. I feel more confident as an actor and as a person as well. I have these lifelong friends, and Booby Stewart, Dove Cameron, Kenny Ortega, who I just spoke to the other day. Zachary Gibson and Jedediah Goodacre, good friends of mine. I was able to get over to Vancouver, and which is now or kind of like my second home. I love Vancouver so much. Some of the guys that I write with, a group of guys that I met in Canada. One of them was like, one of them is now one of my best friends. He was just an assistant on Descendants 2, assistant to Kenny, and now he's one of my best mates that I talk to almost weekly. I just we every time we come up with an idea for something, we throw it to each other. Hey, what do you think about this? Descendants set me up for. It gave me more opportunities than just playing a character on screen, and just more opportunities than finding other roles in movies. It gave me opportunities to make friends around the world and to connect with people I never thought I'd be able to do. It gave me opportunities to stretch as an actor, as a creative. I'm so fortunate for that to happen, and it's not lost on me.
That was such a beautiful way to put it. And like, it's all about the connections that you make. You mentioned Kenny. Have you asked him for advice on the musical
Yeah,
that you were
I
working on?
haven't. I actually haven't. I haven't. I'm not sure. I haven't mentioned that to a lot of people actually. So like I haven't asked him. I haven't even told him about it actually. It's kind of I've been working on that one for so long that like I'm still, because I know as soon as I tell Kenny, he'll be like, send it to me. I want to read it, and I'm just
Not there quite yet, but soon.
well, you know, if you're writing something, and this is the hardest thing, you've got to try and get it out to people that you trust. Yeah, you've got to, because I know that if I'm not pushy, if I don't push myself to do that, I'll never release it. I'll never let it. I'll keep thinking it needs more work. It needs more work. It's not, it doesn't quite make sense yet, or it doesn't quite this, or this is kind of tacky or weak, or this is so contrived, man. Oh, this is so derivative, or maybe like this isn't, doesn't read as well. And I'll just like get more and more in my head and lost in this loop. And eventually, it must have been like a year or so that I've been working on it. And I'm still working on like the book, and I've rewritten it so many times. I've changed the direction of the whole show. And I'm working with my friend Daniel Pucky, who's like now like he's doing the music, and he's an incredible musician. So when I say to him, this is what I've got, this is what he'll put it together, and just like it's amazing. But it takes like I've got to push myself to send that out. And Kenny, I know as soon as I say to him, hey, I'm writing a musical, he'll jump at the chance to help me. And he'll be like, yep, send it to me. What can I do? This is what I can help with it. Give me any, please send it to me. And I just want to, before I say it to him, I want to really make sure that I've got it right.
Well, I think you're getting there, and it just takes a little push. So
It
I'm in
does.
Vancouver. I don't really know you that well, but I'll give you a little push and say, don't self-doubt yourself, because I'm sure you can do it. And it's good to kind of, like you mentioned, people you trust. So I'm confident that that will happen in the near future. Across the three live action Descendants films, which was your all-time favorite scene to be a part of?
Ooh, it's a good question. I loved filming, did I mention? No, that was a lot of fun. That was really, really exciting. I was so full of energy, I remember the day. It was just it was the biggest high that I had in the entire and maybe any filming experience. Just this huge rush of energy. This is powerful. I felt powerful. I felt strong. Um, I felt like nothing could, kind of like invincible almost. And that was a really, really cool, really, really beautiful, moment for me, just like this thing. And it was like a moment where I thought like I've earned this, I deserve this, I feel confident, I feel good. But I think one of my favorite moments, like especially, was the all of the pirate ship scenes in Descendants 2. Was probably actually, I'll give you a moment from each Descendants song. That was my favorite. Yeah, in Descendants 2, there it's going down. Like all that pirate ship, they're learning how to like sword fight. And if I'm being honest, I put so much more time into learning how to fence and sword fight than I even really needed to the point where like I was practicing with some of with the fencing, like they had like a fencing master, a sword master. Sword master. We're gonna go with sword master. That sounds awesome. Yeah, it's sword master. They had a sword master. That's ridiculous. And I ended up just like spending all this time with her and the stun double and the stun coordinator, just like fencing, and I actually got pretty good at it. It was one of my favorite things to do is learn how to properly sword fight. It was really, really exciting. And then Descendants 3 is probably my favorite of the three. I'd say as a whole thing. I feel it's more complete, and I got to the point with Ben where I just uh, I felt like Ben had finally made this. He started out as a boy and kind of finished as a king. and there's that final shot of us looking, all us five, of Mal, Ben, Evie, and Carlos and Jay, and we're all looking out over the bridge as it's being repaired. And I get chills, still thinking of that now, of that shot of doing it and standing there. And we knew it was going to be one of the last few days. We were all kind of hugging and holding hands, and we were all crying. It was just like that. We shot the final scene right on the last day. That was the moment of us all. There's that picture of us all, the shot of us all looking out over the bridge. That was it for us, and it was a very emotional time. It was a very, very memorable moment. I'll remember it to the day that I.
Those are the moments that you will keep with you forever. And it was such a great cast, so talented, each and every one of you. My favorite musical number was You and Me because I love the water element. Such a catchy song.
Of course, I actually totally forgot about it. Yeah.
It's such a catchy song and it was just such a well done dance number, but you had so many, like Did I Mention was such a grueling and important one, kind of for you solely. And it's important that you can play a character that empowers you and makes you feel good. Is this a character that you would ever think about reprising? Like, is that ever a discussion you've had, given how the royal wedding ended teasing Alice in Wonderland?
Look, there's a lot of mixed feelings with that. I love Ben. I love Descendants. I would love to be a part of it. But now it's a bit different. Cameron's no longer with us, and I don't like, it makes me a little bit emotional to kind of revisit. I guess it's a hard thing sometimes to go back to. It almost feels like I don't want to do it if he's not there. Like it's I would have I love Ben, I love Descendants, I love everyone that I worked with there, but he was so integral to everything we did. He was just so fantastic and beautiful and talented in every single way that I wouldn't want to do it without him. And so I'd love to, but I don't want to. Did that
I
make
really
sense? I'm sorry.
appreciate
Yeah.
you. No, no, no. I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us. I know that it's really hard, especially for all of you, but you'll have a connection that will live on forever. The fans of this franchise, though, are still so passionate, and I know that you're still getting tagged. Everyone still gets tagged in fan art. So just what has that everlasting support meant to you? I know you're not on
It's been
social
great.
media often, but when you do log into Instagram and see some of this stuff.
I know I've got to be more active on Instagram. I've got to be more active. I don't know why I'm not. Like I have no good reason. Sometimes I'll go on Instagram and like scroll through it and then just forget that I should post something. Forget that like I have these amazing fans who are us, who are really, really incredible and genuinely saying to me like, Mitch, I love your work, which it makes me feel so nice. So like I'm like, thank you. You watch my stuff and you're giving me like really lovely feedback. And I've had people who have asked me questions about, personal questions, stuff that I've been able to give advice for. And I felt as if I've helped people, and I felt as if they've helped me as well. And fans for Descendants are so awesome. And some like the people who have been following my career have said like films come out and they've immediately messaged like direct message and said like this is incredible, I love this is what I got out of your performance. And it's so nice because they'll be feeling like, you saw that, I really tried to hit that thing, and you saw those little changes, little nuances in it, and it makes me feel really, really nice. And so you're right. When you say I'm not active like on Instagram, absolutely right. I kind of owe it to my fans to be a bit more active. I have no reason to say like why I'm not at the moment. I really, really need to. Those guys guys and girls have had my back since day one, and really since day one, they've been nothing but supportive. Like I'm truly blessed to have these kind of people who, maybe not next to me, maybe not even in the same state, city, not in the same country or even hemisphere as me, and they still feel as if they're right next to me, giving me giving me encouragement and spurring me on. I'm very, very lucky. I'm very fortunate.
What's funny is, or it's not funny, but there are update accounts, and it's almost like they know about things that you're up to before you know about them because they're finding like all these new photos that you've been tagged in and sharing them before you even might see that you're tagged in
It's
them.
fantastic. I remember seeing things like some of the most amazing things. So are we looking for there was a film, like I can't remember the film, but I was looking for like a baby photo of myself, like a photo of me as like a toddler, and I couldn't find it at my mom's house, but I was able to find it in my Instagram tagged photos, which like it blew I couldn't quite understand how they were able to get this photo, but it also came in quite handy. I was like, oh, thank you for that.
And
So
you're
that
like,
was
that was
exactly,
easy.
yeah, it's exactly what I was looking for. It's very interesting sometimes. I'll see photos that I never knew existed from an event that I don't remember, or when I was very young. It's always a fun thing to
Yeah,
find
to look
out.
through the archives, it's for sure. Now,
Exactly.
aside from writing, you filmed Don't Make Me Go in New Zealand earlier this year. So what can you share about that project?
Don't Make Me Go is was directed by a woman that I actually knew personally, Hannah Marks, who it's really strange. We met 6 years ago or something like that in LA at an audition, and we just met and then hanging out, kind of chatting. And the film that we were going for never ended up happening. Neither of us kind of really booked it. Didn't get made, but we ended up having like a good chat and like a nice relationship. And then finally I heard that she was, I think at the time, even just after that, she'd started directing and writing, and she was in a show called Dirk Gently, Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, which I loved. And then finally, I knew she was doing a couple little things. And when I saw my agent sent through a script saying, a brief that said, directed by Hannah Marks, I jumped at the chance. I was like, Hannah's doing this. Oh my God, I've got to do this. I went for it, and she said, "That's great. Look, can you try auditioning for this role?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Hannah. Yes, absolutely." I just really wanted to work with Hannah. I was so excited, and she liked what I did. She set up a Zoom, and we ended up just chatting and catching up. And there's like three producers just kind of waiting, like, "All right, let's start the audition, and whenever you guys are ready." And I was able to book the job, and I went over, and working with Hannah was exactly what I wanted. It was fantastic. I was so impressed with how she worked with her professionalism. I think she's going to be a big name director for us to keep an eye on. Is Hannah Marks? She's going to be someone that impresses the world with all her stuff. She's got a long career ahead of her, and I'm very certain to say that she's going to be a big name. She's going to be one of the biggest directors that we're going to grow to love and know. So that's. But Don't Make Me Go was also a lot of fun. Got to like a little challenge myself, which I hope you guys will see in the film. And I also got to spend 3 weeks in Auckland, where I just kind of, I got to explore New Zealand, which I'd never been to before. I went down to Hobbiton and stuff.
Was
It was a
gonna
lot of
ask
fun.
about the if you went on any
I,
sort of Lord of the Rings
I
set
did.
tours, and not to
I'm
mention
a
Hannah Marks was in Dirk Gently, and she got to spend a lot of time with probably one of your heroes, Elijah Wood.
I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. I'm a very big Lord of the Rings fan. It's I read the books every summer. I'm gesturing here because I can see them. They're like like on display in a little
I thought you were
bookcase.
gesturing because as you hold it at a high
Yeah.
percent.
Is, my Lord of the Rings. No, I've got them like on display right there. And I so going down to Hobbiton was it was a big experience for me. It's very exciting. I went down with the lead actress Mae Isaacs, who played was a lead actress in Don't Make Me Go. Her and her mum, um, they are both American. They didn't want to drive on like the left hand side of the road, and I was like, wait, where are you guys going? And they're like, well, we want to go to Hobbiton. I was like, dude, I got you. I'll drive. Don't worry about it. You hop in the car. I'm happy to drive. I got a license. I can drive on the left hand side of the road. And so we went down, drove down to Hobbiton. And I remember Mia was looking around as I was like talking to the tour guide, and we were just like quoting the books and like even like the essays that Tolkien had wrote. And Mia was like, Mitch, like if acting doesn't work out one day, why don't you just become a tour guide at Hobbiton? You're like telling all the other people like what I'm like in the photos. In the photos of me at Hobbiton, my smile is just so stupid. This massive like someone walking around like her whole face
It's
is
like
like
that
red.
boyish grin, right?
Yeah, I couldn't stop smiling. It was I took photos of everything, and I refused to. I didn't like all in like 4K and 60 frames a second, so it takes up like all the space on my phone. But sometimes I'm just like, it's the most beautiful, and it really is. It is that beautiful. Like when you go there, it's this massive set, and it's just incredible. You go down, and then I had like, I had a beer at the Green Dragon, like the pub in Lord of the Rings. I sat there like in front of the fireplace. You've actually okay. I feel like I'm getting too close to a Lord of the Rings rant. This is the dangerous territory for me.
No, no, no. I love the films, so I'm completely fine hearing it. Did you get to like go inside any of the houses and
There's a yeah, a little bit. Some of the houses are like some of them are like facades, which is it's got the front of it, but nothing like in the middle inside. This is like movie making we're talking about here, and a few of them had little things that were in there, but uh, not too much. It's still a movie set they built into a hill, so it was a bit hard for them to build 100 actual Hobbit holes. And that would be structurally sound still 20 years later. But it was really cool to go up and see Bilbo's house, see Bag End, to go up there and see there was a sign on the front that said no admittance except on party business. And that was really exciting. It was a very exciting time for me. But and also I shot a movie, somewhere nearby.
yeah, so two wins on one trip. About the film, I know there's not like a full plot. It is about a father and daughter, so I guess you fit in somewhere along the
Yeah,
journey, maybe.
it is, and that's what it is. It's a journey that a father and daughter take, and John Cho, who plays the father, he's such a good actor, man. He's very good. He's so he's very flexible, and he kind of I will act opposite me and kind of push me and give me like little random things, and like kind of fire back or like let me stretch a little bit more. He's a real pro, and it was a lot of fun working with him. And Mia's first big film, she was immediately she's going to be a big name as well. Mia was she picked it up so quickly, and she was a hard worker. She was a bloody hard worker and did very well. I think she's going to be a working actress for a long time. It's that had some really cool people in it that I got to work with. I'm very lucky with that one as well. And it was only a short amount of time filming, but it was really exciting. I actually can't wait for that one to come out as well. It's
Hopefully
gonna be a
next
fun
year.
watch. Hopefully, it really whenever you shoot something, you kind of never when you film something, once it's done, the best thing to do is kind of put it out of your head. There's nothing you can really do about it after that. It's just waiting until things like this where I can promote. Like we filmed Love You Like That. We filmed
Two
at the end
years
of
ago.
29, yeah, the end of 2019. So like it was, and we kind of there are a few moments where we're gonna release it soon, and then more lockdown, more pandemic. Maybe soon, and then another lockdown, and so we just didn't think it would if I was kind of getting caught up and tripping myself up thinking about it the whole time, I would have gone absolute nuts. Just like getting worried and worried and worried. When's it going to come? What am I going to do? So the best thing for me to do once I finish filming is, just I'll throw it out, and as soon as I hear about it, I'll come back to it and I'll start working on it and start psyching people up about it. But I
Well,
can't
it
wait.
definitely
But on the
sounds
download, yeah, I can't wait till that comes out.
Yeah, I feel like Hannah though. It seems like it could do like a festival circuit kind of thing. She's phenomenal. I know her as an actress, but it's great because you two are the same age, so you're kind of seeing someone your age in that zone doing all this creative behind the scenes work that
Yeah,
hopefully you get to get that opportunity in the future. Wild card question for you. Can
right.
you name all the members of the Fellowship of the Ring? I'm thinking you can do this easily.
Yeah, yeah, I can. Gandalf, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, Frodo, Sam, Pippin, Merry, Boromir. There's 9.
Yes.
Come on. This is
Oh, okay,
this
I
kind of
knew
stuff.
that it was your favorite book because you said that in like another thing you did, but I didn't know how much of a super fan you were. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
how I probably would have d done it as well because you group the three friends, you group the hobbits, and then like yeah, Gandalf and Boromir. So bravo,
yeah, yeah,
our
yeah. It's
signature. You're like that was too easy for me.
yeah. It's like I'm laughing because I like if any of my friends are watching this, this is a funny thing to see. Is being asked Lord of the Rings trivia. It's almost like a oh yeah, I can do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
please.
yeah, you
Yeah,
needed something harder. Next time around, we're going to like
next
dive
time
deep into
around,
the
yeah, give me
books.
a list of Lord of the Rings trivia questions. We'll do a Lord of the Rings trivia.
Okay, is it just the Lord of the Rings or is it the Hobbit as well?
I'm better on the Lord of the Rings, but like all of the Tolkien universe is and so a Hobbit, I guess I haven't read as much. The Hobbit movies kind of deviated a little bit, but the Hobbit I haven't read as much. I just feel like the Lord of the Rings is one of the most complete stories ever written. But yeah, all of Tolkien's world, that whole Tolkien, like his whole universe, is just there's so much information. There's so much in it that you could like go for days and hours and weeks and still not have completely found everything. And there's more and more and more. It's a lot of fun to get lost in if you're into that kind of stuff. It's a fun world to get lost in. I don't know
Mitchell
how I've got it
recommended
to Lord
Lord
of
of
the
the
Rings
Rings.
today. Yeah, I don't know
It's
how I've done
coming
it
off
again.
like we're just
Yeah,
pushing Lord of the Rings on
yeah, I
people,
know.
but it's such
Yeah,
a rich world, so
it
for
really
sure.
is.
Yeah.
It's I can't stop laughing. This is like my friends are they're gonna laugh at me for this one.
They're gonna tear you apart. Like,
Yeah,
why did you just
well
talk
they know how
about
much like I'll bring it up just like randomly and they'll
and
be
they'll be
like,
like, oh,
"What's
there's
going on?"
Mitch with Lord of the Rings
Yeah,
again. Like, I
yeah.
don't want to
I
hear
send
about the
them I
Shire.
send them like a meme every single week, Lord of the Rings. I have done so for the whole pandemic. I probably have a folder on my phone with 100 Lord of the Rings memes. Like it's like there's no joke here. So
But you're
I'm
happy
a,
to have it take up the space on your phone.
yeah, it's Hobbiton videos and Lord of the Rings memes, and occasionally like self tapes. But look, they can be removed afterwards. These things are here to stay.
They're there forever. Yeah. Well, we will deviate from Lord of the Rings for our final
Yes,
question.
please.
Our
Sorry. Yes.
signature
Let's focus.
question.
Let's focus. Let's get back to it.
If you could be any ice cream flavor, which would you be and why?
Ooh, ooh, good question. I would be. See, this is a good one because it's not like what do I like best, but what would I be? You know? And I would say, what do I like best? I love like choc mint. I know it's like kind of one of those love or hate things, and I meet a lot of people who hate them, which I hate. I hate that they hate it, but no, but I love choc mint. I suppose I would love to be I choc mint. I guess I'd love to be choc. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'll change my answer. Ignore the first part of what I said. Choc mint is what the ice cream I'd love to be.
Final answer, chalk mint.
But finally, it's a choc mint. Why? Because I love it so much, and I want to learn to love myself.
That's the important part, that you love it. Thank you so much, Mitchell. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me. We should do it again next time I have a film coming out. But don't make me go or something.
Of course. Well, you can catch Mitchell in Love You Like That. For all our friends in Australia, be safe, but it is at theaters. So make sure to check your local listings, hopefully the rest of the world sometime soon. And we will see you next time. Bye.
See you next time. See you later.